Hello and welcome to the most serious crypto news. In today's episode, we will look at the reasons for the growth of crypts and the purchases of whales. But before that, let's take a look at the current prices and my open position. So if we're talking about the price of Bitcoin, for the past day, the price only was rising and at the peak it almost reached $76,000. Right now there is a little correction there and slowly there is a little jump, and right there I opened my position for an upward trend. Let's get to 1 hour time frame so that it would be easier to understand the logic. So if you look, you see my deal for an upward trend and my stop loss is at $71,000 and take profit is at $79,000. The idea here is that yes, the main resistance is even though at $80,000, but reaching $79,000, I believe that there's going to be a little reverse, because if you look at the past, the sales accumulated at $79,000. And because I have position with 15x leverage, I have the positional liquidation at 69,000, but I don't believe I should move my stop loss right now. And everything is great on Ethereum too, and the price continues to fly up and has already peaked at $2,390, while in percentage terms, the growth of Ethereum is even outstrips the growth of Bitcoin. But we'll talk about it a little further in the video. And now we turn to the key news on the basis of which I opened my position. Bitcoin near 75k, as trader says, the Bitcoin price squeeze changes nothing. So Bitcoin again decided to remind us that it is in charge here and tested $75,900 for the first time since the beginning of February. It has now rolled back a bit to $74,200, but the fact is that the bulls are waking up. And Ethereum also tightened up and broke through $2,300, adding 2.4% per day and 13.5% per week. And the fear and greed index has finally grown out of extreme fear to 28, which is the highest since the end of January. And there is still a long way to go, but the progress is evident. The main driver is the closing of short positions. Traders who were betting on a drop to $55,000 to $60,000 realized that no miracle would happen here and began buying contracts en masses. And this triggered a short squeeze and pushed the price up. And plus the institutions returned within a week. The spot Bitcoin ETF raised $767 million and Ethereum ETF raised $161 million. And of course, Michael Saylor noted again, strategy bought 22,337 bitcoins for $1.57 billion, which is one of the company's largest transactions. And QCP Capital philosophically noted that the market is unfolding despite the geopolitical storm, and if the trend continues, we may see an unexpected turnaround at the end of the quarter, especially against the background of the record supply of USDC, 81.1 billion, and the return of whales as well. Corporations accelerate stock market transition to blockchain. So RedFi decided that it's time to move to the blockchain and stage a real tokenized race. And the NYSE and Nasdaq have officially supported the trend, and now the markets are divided into two camps. American platforms like Securities and Superstate are creating the infrastructure for issuing Fortune 500 shares directly on a distributed ledger, and this will simplify the dividends, voting, and calculations. And offshore players like Kraken and Ondo have gone the other way, and they buy shares of Apple or Tesla through special companies and issue tokens backed by them. So technically these are derivatives, but in fact they are the same stocks, only with like instant settlements. Robinhood CEO Vlad Tenev, he has already called tokenization an unstoppable train, and the SEC represented by Commissioner Hester Pierce has also joined the dialogue and is even developing a special narrow exception for innovation so that it can experiment with tokenized securities within the framework of existing rules. At the same time, exchanges are massively launching digitized metals trading. Tether's ZOT has already added OKX, Bybit, Qcoin, and Pax is trading on Binance and Kraken. Even the Telegram wallet has integrated gold, silver, copper, and platinum. As Dmitry Machihin, CEO of BitOK, noted, the irony is that Bitcoin has been promoted as the digital gold for 15 years, but in the end, investors came to real gold, but in form of tokens. The bear market is accelerating the transformation, and crypto exchanges are turning into universal platforms for real assets. And the other UWA sector has already reached $26 billion, and this is just the beginning. If you like my content, don't forget to like up this video and subscribe to the channel. In this way, you won't miss the next news yourself, and it will help my channel grow. Ethereum outpaces Bitcoin as institutional interest returns. During the day, Ethereum jumped by 7.4% against 3% for Bitcoin, and during the week by 14.1% against 9.6%. Ethereum is currently trading around $2,253, and the main driver is the return of institutions. Last week, spot ETFs on Ethereum raised $160.8 million, and old crypto bisons like Eric Voorhees, ex-CEO of Shapeshift, and Billy Lutke, Intuition Protocol, began to actively gain positions again. Voorhees, for example, purchased 24,968 Ethereums for $56.5 million using 2 wallets and almost completely converting the stables into Ethereum. Apparently, the guy just decided that it was time to return to the game after a 1-year break. Against this background, Vitalik Buterin decided that it was time to simplify the lives of ordinary users and proposed combining not startup programs into a single structure. Right now, the validators are struggling with 2 separate programs, which basically turns launching a node into quest for a select few. Buterin rightfully noted that working with your own Ethereum infrastructure should become everyone's basic right, and nodes should be launched easily. And this is all despite the fact that CryptoQuant Analysis recently assumed that Ethereum will fall to $1,500 due to the adoption paradox. But for now, the market is voting with wallets, and Ethereum is confidently catching up with Bitcoin. Strategy raises $1.57 billion via equity sales to acquire 22,337 bitcoins. So Michael Saylor has turned on the endless shopping mode again and doesn't even think about stopping. So from March 9 to March 15th, his company's Strategy acquired another 22,337 bitcoins for $1.57 billion at an average price of $70,194. And this is already the 5th largest transaction in the company's history, and since August of 2020, they have accumulated 761,068 bitcoins, spending $57.6 billion on it, and the average price of those is $75,696. Now their portfolio is estimated at about $56.5 billion, so the unrealized loss has slightly decreased due to the growth of Bitcoin to $74,390. And to finance the next purchase, Strategy printed shares again. It sold preferred STRCS for $1.18 billion and ordinary MSTRS for $396 million. Saylor has already reported that STRCX have become the most liquid preferred instrument on the market. Apparently, investors like to watch their money turn into Bitcoins. But you know what? Saylor is not alone in his mania. The Japanese Metaplanet has also made a fuss. It has raised $255 million from the institutions, through a share placement with a 2% premium and is going to spend $357 million to buy more Bitcoin. Their ambition and goal is to accumulate 100,000 Bitcoins by the end of 2026 and 210,000 Bitcoins by the end of 2027. And by the end of 2025, they already had 35,102 Bitcoins. So, there is a lot of work to do. Meanwhile, Bitmain continues to stack Ethereum. Now they have 4.59 million Ethereums, which is 3.81% of the total supply, by the way. And the goal is to get to 5%. And they even bought 5,000 Ethereum directly from the Ethereum Foundation so that the foundation would not have to sell coins on the market. OpenSea postpones Sea token launch, citing challenging conditions. So OpenSea decided that launching a token in current market situation was not a good idea and postponed the launch of Sea from March 30th, basically indefinitely. CEO Devin Finzer honestly admitted, postponement is postponement. I won't be embellishing it. And the team decided to refine ecosystem so as not to disappoint the community. As a reward for users, the current reward season will be the last. You can request a refund of commissions for the 3rd and the 6th round, but then treasures will be written off. And for March 31st, token trading fees will be cancelled for 60 days, and then they will introduce a new tariff system for active traders. A separate product update event has also been postponed for the coming months, and they promised to talk about the mobile application and cross-chain trading. Finzer admitted that the previous announcement was too premature and created unnecessary uncertainty, and recalled the transformation of OpenSea into multi-blockchain aggregator, and plans for the Sea token became known back in October 2025. Apparently, for 6 months, they have not decided how to fit into the market correctly. Crypto funds pull a $1 billion for the 3rd straight week as U.S. investors drive demand. During the week from March 9 to 13th, crypto funds attracted $1.06 billion, which is the 3rd week of inflows in a row. Total assets under management increased by 9.4% and reached $140 billion. So CoinShares analysts point out that in the face of market instability, investors are increasingly considering digital assets as a safe haven. The lion's share of the money, 96%, came from the United States, but Germany showed an outflow for the first time this year, minus $17.1 million. Apparently, Germans decided that it was safer to keep money in beer mugs. Bitcoin, as always, is at the top, $793 million inflows, and in 3 weeks it has already reached $2.2 billion, which partially compensates for the previous 5-week outflow of $3 billion. Interestingly, these structures for the Bitcoin shorts also raised $8.1 million, which means that opinions are divided here. Ethereum is not far behind, $315 million in inflows, largely due to the launch of profitable ETF from BlackRock, which has already raised $45.65 million. But XRP continues to lose ground, outflow for the 2nd week in a row, minus $76 million. Apparently, investors are tired of waiting for the victory over the SEC. And that's all the news for today, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.